I first want to touch on a conversation that we had ended with Emma about tariffs. How squeezed are you getting?
We're very lucky in that we have over 42 countries that we source from, and China was actually a relatively small proportion of our total imports and trade, so probably less than 18%. And over the last 12 months, we have shifted much of that product to other countries in Asia or the US, or in fact some new sources in Europe. So it now represents less than 10%. So whilst it is an impact, it's not as severe as perhaps for others.
So Neela, if it isn't a direct effect on Crate and Barrel and sales, are you seeing it express itself in any way in the sentiment of consumers? Are consumers paying attention to these tariff problems and maybe becoming a little more hesitant to buy?
We haven't seen it so far as a direct impact of tariffs. I mean, I think our sales tend to move quite closely with the stock market. So we saw some hesitancy, I would say, earlier in the year, sort of January, February, where people seem to be hesitating around larger furniture purchases, and furniture is now 50% of our business. But that has moderated, and we actually saw quite strong sales in Q2.
Neela, you talked a lot about that supply chain and shifting to other countries of which you already had operations up and running that you were sourcing from. Where are those? We hear a lot about Vietnam and Thailand. You mentioned new operations in Europe. Where are your operations?
Sure. I mean, 1/3 of our product actually comes from the US because all of our, or most of our upholstery at Crate and Barrel is made in North Carolina. So we've actually expanded some of our US operations, mainly because of speed, actually, because we see more and more customers opting for custom furniture, and it's much faster for us to produce it in North Carolina. But in terms of alternative overseas sources, Vietnam has been a strong one. We also have great heritage in Europe, so Croatia, Poland, etc. And so some of those have opened up as new sources for us.
Neela, tell us about the customer experience at Crate and Barrel. You have this thing called Table at Crate. One of them, as I understand, up and running there out in Illinois, where you actually have a restaurant. What is the purpose of that? How do you know whether that works the way you want it to?
Sure. Well, we saw an opportunity. I mean, 45% of our sales at Crate and Barrel now are online. And so with that comes the opportunity to use our store footprint slightly differently. And Oakbrook Mall, where we opened the Table at Crate, is one of the top malls in the country. We have a great location there with a great outside space. And we thought about, well, we want to create a new brand experience for our customers, something much more immersive and authentic, building upon our heritage and entertaining. And so we partnered with a local chef, Bill Kim, to create what has so far been a very successful restaurant. It's early days, it's only the first month, but at the moment it's trading well above our expectations. It's driving double-digit traffic to the store, and I'm sure over time giving customers a very new way to experience our brand.
So if you're driving double-digit traffic into the store, how does that correlate with sales?
It has increased the sales of that individual store, but I'm reluctant to get too excited because it's still only the first month. But nevertheless, so far so good. We see a really positive halo impact.
So when you start a new initiative like this, one of the things we always ask ourselves is, okay, in success, how big could it get? In continued success, would this go into conceivably all Crate and Barrel stores, or are there some stores that would be more appropriate for, some less?
We think probably about 10 to 20 stores, so not all Crate and Barrel stores. We feel obviously you'd have to have the physical footprint to accommodate it because it's quite a large restaurant. We might consider other versions of it, but we would say that at the moment we would think very carefully about what else is available in the mall or in that location, and how can we really create something differentiated and immersive. And so we may even choose to do that market by market, or obviously we would expand this to the top doors.
As we take a look at where we are in the economic cycle, you said a lot of your sales are correlated with the stock market, like furniture, for example. How do you measure where the customer is? Do you stick with your one customer and you really want to hone in and target there? Or if we shift late cycle, do you go into a lower end and try to target a broader audience and maybe lower prices? How do you gauge that?
Well, one of the things that's very exciting about retail actually is that our ability to target digitally has transformed. We now spend more of our marketing budgets on digital marketing and personalization than we ever did 3 years ago, because the technology has moved on so much faster. And therefore, we're able to really personalize the experience for our customers. And that kind of high-touch, high-value service is critical for brands like ours. So, as an example, we offer design services in our stores, and we've done over 10,000 consultations this year, where someone is coming into a store and interacting with an associate multiple times to complete a project. And so we see that as definitely the growth model for brands like ours. Obviously, there are continued pressures around promotions and discounts in the market, but at the moment, we maintain our differentiation through that kind of unique product design and differentiated service.
Neela, Crate & Barrel is known for home furnishings. What insight do you have into household formation and the housing market in the United States?
Sure. What we see a big trend for is smaller space. We're seeing many more multi-unit condos going up, and therefore we're having to adapt how we think about our product design. You know, customers increasingly want multifunctional product and multifunctional furniture. They're thinking about buying the whole thing for a 2,000 square foot condominium, and so we just need to think differently about some of these urban markets, because people are increasingly prepared to trade off space for location.